Hello everyone, I am a federated chess player of standard federating of around 1550. I am playing competitive chess since the year 2020 and that's why I exactly know how like a beginner or an intermediate level player can improve themselves. Hello everyone, and today we are going to discuss about king safety, especially how level players can maintain king safety and in long run, which will help them win games and not allow their opponents to give counterplay and how to keep your king safe is a very simple one, but also it is very important one as well. So basically, how it works is that you have to first develop your minor pieces, especially the bishops and knights, first as soon as possible. Take central control and castle your king as quickly as possible. And in such a case, do not go for any kind of attack or any kind of opening of the position if your king is in the center of the board. Because when you open up the position and your king is still in the center, then your opponent will get chances of counter attacks. If they can line up rooks and queens and bishops against your king as it is open in the center. So first prioritize castling of the king by first developing the minor pieces, especially of the king side, and then after you have castled, then you can do whatever you want. Especially try to go for attack by not compromising with the king's safety, not pushing any kind of pawns in front of your king's camp. These are like many things beginners break. They sometimes push the pawns in front of the king, which weakens it to a lot, and which eventually leads to many weak spots present around the king's camp, which is not good. Never push the pawns in front of the king until unless it's extremely necessary. And now we are going to see few kind of like structures, which is really very important to understand how king safety can be held during such games and how can you maintain king safety easily without any problem. So let's get started. So we're going to see the first question, which is this. So this position, which you can see on your screen, is a very unique kind of position. Not unique, I would say. It's a very common kind of position. Basically, this position can arise in many of your games, especially in e4, e5 situations. And in this situation, you can see that the king safety is basically on two uh, two pieces. One is the knight, and another is the rook. The rook is, of course, protecting the king through the f2 pawn, safeguarding it, even though f2 pawn cannot be attacked that easily. But the pawns which can be attacked, the pawns which can make like keep king safe and can be attacked in order to break apart the king's safety is the g and the h pawns. You have to remember that. And keeping the spawns compact and stable and not letting them rip apart. The work is being done by this knight on F. So now you have to make sure that this knight is not captured or not removed from the board that easily, so that the pawn structure in front of your king is compromised, or it pawns can be easily attacked by the other pieces or queens and rooks. So this knight is doing a considerable job. But this is not a very good position to safeguard the king, because this knight can be easily attacked or even pinned in this fashion, which you would have seen very easily. Not this. this in this fashion. And now, because the knight is pinned, and in future it can be captured by the bishop, the king's safety can be easily compromised, especially when you are getting attacked. Your queen can come here or even here in order to attack this pawns, and then rooks can join in with moves like f5, and it will be a very easy attack for black. So I don't think so that this structure, which usually beginner level players keep, will help in any kind of king safety match, as the knight can be easily attacked. So now let's go for the second structure. The second structure is an interesting one. You would have also seen it in many games, and which is this one. This structure you can see is a fianchetto bishop structure, and it's a very solid structure actually. And there is not much of a problem in this structure until and unless the bishop on g2 is gone, because the bishop on g2 is the main defender and the attacker of the whole fray. And if the bishop is removed in such situations, then king can go vulnerable. So, and in order to do that, you can see how black has lined up the bishop and queen's battery towards this area. And the next move of black will be, of course, to come to h3, exchange the bishop up, and then at the end of the day, it will be disastrous as the knight can jump in any time and the rooks can join with f4, f5 to come, and the attack will be raging. So there are very common ideas like this in order to remove the king's defenders, especially in the middle game situations. But there is one last structure which will see, which is not very easy to break apart. And it is, you can say, one of the best structures to keep during middle game to safeguard your king from any kind of attack, which can be upcoming from your opponent. And that structure we're going to see in a moment is this one. Yes, this structure. This structure is the most solid structure you've ever seen. The knight on f1 guarding everything here. And you can even push the pawn to g3 in order to give guard to knight. And this solid structure is the most difficult to break, because before we saw that the knight which was on f3 can be easily attacked with bishop to g4 or anything which can come to f6 and attack it is. But knight on f1 cannot be attacked easily. It is so deep inside White's territory that attacking it is almost next to impossible. As you can see, the pawns are blocking everything, any kind of incoming threats to this knight from black. And because of this reason, this knight on f1, or you can say even vice versa for black, knight on f8 kind of position where king is on g8, knight is on f8, or king is on g1, knight on f1, and pawns in front of it, not pushed like not pushed at all, or just pushed one or push one squares like the g3 especially, so that knight can support it in the long game. This kind of structure is the best in order to gain any kind of king safety in the game, in the middle game, especially. Also, it is not necessary that you just keep the structure and say, now my opponent cannot checkmate me, I am safe and I can do anything. No, you have to be careful that if your opponent is trying to attack you, even with this structure, do not sit dormant thinking that this structure will prevail, not going to get checkmated. Yes, this structure is the most solid one, and it is difficult to get checkmated in such kind of structure, as knight is guarding everything in the territory, all the squares in front of it and around it. So it is difficult for sure, but it's not impossible. If black can get enough resources and can sacrifice few pieces in front of the king and rip apart the structure, then I don't think so. It will be time before you can get checkmate. So in such situations, if your opponent is attacking you, then you should also reciprocate by attacking any kind of vulnerabilities your opponent has. So you have to be cautious. It's not like you cannot let your opponent keep punching. You have to punch back sometime in the future. So that's why you have to be careful in such situations, not to let your opponent too much into your territory. Try to drive away any kind of threats or pieces which is too much deep into your territory, and then try to place your pieces in your opponent's territory. Try to attack weaknesses of your opponents, like the weak pawns or weak squares, etc. So this is how you keep king safety in a chess game, and I think that is it for today. I hope this will help you in your long run games where you can keep this kind of structures and test out how they work during a raging attack by your opponent. How do you reciprocate against it also matters a lot. So that is it for today, guys, and bye bye.